searching for all parts of the hippocampus. This is a text box, as I indicated, so you can go in here and edit it if you wish. You can also save the search so that you can use it for a future time. NIF does provide a login option so that you can save these searches under your name. If you log in, then these will be saved indefinitely. If you just hit Save Search, it will only work on this particular session. So here you can see I've added all the parts of the hippocampus and also a type of hippocampal neuron. NIF will then re-execute that search. Notice also that when I right-click on this, there's something called a NIF card. This is a new feature that NIF has added. Essentially, these are little information applications that can be popped up at any time to tell you about entities that NIF has in its vocabularies. So here it's picking up the NIF card for hippocampus CA1 pyramidal cell, gives you a definition, gives you synonyms, gives you the Neuralex ID, and clicking on this will take you to it. If there's more information that is encoded in the ontology, for example, we know that this is a glutamatergic neuron. It's also a type of hippocampus pyramidal neuron. It will also provide that for you. As the NIF system evolves, more and more information is knit into our ontologies and more information will be exposed. We will also be linking these to specific information sources for this concept as the NIF cards get enhanced. So we've already gone through some of the main features of the NIF, that it auto-expands on synonyms, that it tries to be clever about anding and oring terms depending upon your intent. Again, anything is available for you to hand edit, and that it allows you to automatically browse through related concepts using our vocabulary trees over here on the right menu. But NIF also has several other features which are potentially useful to you. One of the things that we've been doing is try to expand the idea of concept-based search, not only to include synonyms, but also to include other concepts that are likely to be meant when you search for a given term. For example, if we type in the string GABA, you see first of all that the NIF system tries to tell you, well, here's all the things that we know about GABA. If I select something called GABAergic neuron, and I search for it, note that in this case, instead of just searching for synonyms for GABAergic neuron, NIF also searches for all the types of GABAergic neurons that we currently know about in the NIF ontologies. It does this because inside the ontologies, we have a rule, essentially, that is stored along with this concept that says you are a GABAergic neuron if you are both a member of the class neuron and you also use GABA as a neurotransmitter. NIF has taken a guess that if you're searching for GABAergic neurons, that's really what you're looking for, types of GABAergic neurons, and not specifically the string GABAergic neuron. So it goes ahead and it executes this search for you. Again, it executes this search across all of our different indices. So for example, it will also search for PubMed in the open access literature so that you can search for these other types of GABAergic neurons using our interface. But back to the data federation. So again, these terms are selected because there are rules that are stored inside of our ontology. We've also done this, for example, for brain region. If you type hippocampal neuron here, it will search for all neurons that we know of that are in the hippocampus rather than just the string hippocampal neuron. So this is potentially very, very powerful. You can also see, however, that some of these queries can be quite long and sometimes you need to wait a little bit because this is a very large query that needs to be executed. But here you see that you get all the hippocampal neurons that NIF knows about. Now, because again, it's not a strict semantic search, if that string occurs anywhere in a record, you will see that record returned regardless of the fact that it might be in a description field of a database that says this article is about hippocampal neurons, but the particular record itself is not particularly about that. As I said, NIF is going to be working on this and improving these things as we go on. In many cases, because there are no, uh, again, standards in terminology, and the terminology in neurosciences is somewhat messy, sometimes you have the same term that can mean multiple things. So you'll notice if I hit basal, and it gives me all of the things that it knows about basal, that there's 2 basal ganglia that are associated here. In some cases, it's just a mistake because, as with any vocabulary project, we have 50,000 terms and there are always mistakes. But in most cases, the reason why there are multiple terms is because the term basal ganglia can mean many things. In this case, you see that NIF has 2 terms that are basal ganglia. One of them is really under the term basal nuclear complex, and basal ganglia is a synonym, and the other is basal ganglia. If we look at the parts of the basal ganglia, in this case, we see that this is the basal ganglia system, which includes not only the sort of well-recognized striatal and globus pallidus systems, but it also includes the substantia nigra and subthalamic nucleus. And again, if we'd like to search on those, we right-click and say select all, and it searches for any one of these. However, basal ganglia also has a classical definition, those nuclei that are deep inside the forebrain, and if you click on this, you see that this definition includes the amygdala, colostrum, globus pallidus, and the striatum. So this is the way that NIF handles the fact that there are multiple terms for the same thing, and we allow you to come over here and select the ones you want and expose what it is that we think it means when you select that particular search. So this just provides a brief overview of some of the search features of the NIF system that make use of our ontologies. We make use of ontologies here in the search interface, not so much in terms of what we bring back, although that type of information is constantly being added. One thing that NIF does do is if there is a search, if there is a database that uses a non-standard terminology, we will map explicitly those concepts to the NIF vocabularies so that when you search for a term, it will return those back to you. In the example I just showed, I selected Brodmann area 3, a cortical area. Over here, you'll note that there is a database, the SumsDB, which gives brain activation foci, which uses Brodmann.3 as its abbreviation for Brodmann area 3. That's a non-standard abbreviation. We don't have it here in our list of synonyms, but we do return this to you because behind the scenes NIF has said, well, in this case, this database, Brodmann.3, actually maps to the more standard term Brodmann area 3. So inside the NIF, we try not to use custom abbreviations. We don't feel that we want to add to the confusion, but essentially Brodmann area 3, if you look at the Neuralex entry, should have its own unique identifier, in this case Bernlex 1734, which is inserted in the record behind the scenes. Therefore, anything that searches for Bernlex 1734 will return that record regardless of the actual string used. This shows some of the potential power of the semantic search options that are available and why we spend a lot of time working on the NIF vocabularies. Thank you.